Welcome, everyone, to Optimized for Humans. In this podcast, we explore how, in the age of AI, we can make the best of our human potential in organizations and how we can strategically outsource all of the rest to AI. My name is Usha. I'm an executive coach and consultant. I'm passionate about supporting leaders in building high-performing, human-centric organizations. And today, I'm really excited that a very dear friend is joining me today, Dr. Aithan Shapira, who is a leadership expert, a senior lecturer at MIT Sloan, and founder of Tilt, and transformation organization that works with high-impact organizations in tech, health, finance, green energy, organizations like Google, NASA, and the United Nations, just to name a few. He's been a keynote speaker at over 160 conferences. He's trained over 12,000 leaders and worked with over 30 Fortune 500 companies. And my favorite, he's also an incredible artist who's had his work featured all over the world. And you bring this incredible perspective that's really unique and really focuses on change and evolution, both at the human level as well as at an organizational level and at the community and global level. So I'm really excited to be having this conversation with you, Aithan. Thank you so much for being here.
Usha, thank you for having me. I'm just so glad to be together and to have this conversation. Thanks for inviting me.
So we met at the Integral Facilitator training, which was really focused on how do we leverage human adult development to help leaders expand their capacity, both at the sort of cognitive level and at the emotional level, to have more capacity for complexity and more capacity to navigate uncertain contexts. And I think adult development plays a huge role in how we're thinking about this conversation. And I want to kind of set the frame before we dive into the conversation with this sort of shared lens that we both bring into this work, which is that, there's a predictable context and there's a very specific approach that's important and meaningful in that predictable context, which is very much that you can control things, you can plan for things and execute things. And some of those plans may be like incredibly complicated, but they follow a set of rules, and those rules are knowable. But on the other side of the spectrum, we have an unpredictable context with variables that are constantly changing and evolving. And there's no real way to know ahead of time what the right answers are, what the right solutions are. You just kind of have to test and learn and feel your way forward. And really, we're talking about a VUCA context, right? A volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous world. And a lot of the work that I've been most excited to hear from you about has been how you bring together these leaders from across community, from across different contexts, to really work with these wicked problems or these seemingly intractable problems where there are no clear answers or clear solutions. And I'd love to kind of start there and ask you, from your perspective in this sort of VUCA context, what is different? What needs to be different about how we solve problems?
Wow, it's such a rich opening. And I just think one place that we can start with all of that, that really speaks to adult development in general, to how we grow, how we mature, is just a basic agreement that we're part of an evolutionary process, that I have been evolving, you're evolving, we're evolving together, beside each other and in relationship, because we're interacting to and with each other. And that's happening in a multitude around us.
Yeah.
And that if we agree that we're in a developmental process, that development is, that it exists, is that you're changing. I'm changing. I am different now than I was 5 years ago. I'm going to be different in 10 years from now. Even though I've spent so much of my childhood, my adulthood, to become the person I am. I'm even at many times we're happy with who we've become or what we have and how we are. And 5 years from now, we're going to be different. So that basic idea that we're part of a change it's always happening. VUCA it's always been there. And that we need collectively to grow, mature, and take actions together to solve some of the wicked problems. What makes them wicked is that I can't solve it alone. Is that it's so complex that actually there's no way any one person, that we need to work together to grow together, and that we're in an evolutionary process. When we agree to that, then understanding the problem before we even get to the solution is going to require all of us to be in agreement about, well, what is the problem really? So it's that active participation with what's changing in me, between us, around us, that is, participating with our evolution is really critical to understanding even the VUCA context and to understand the wicked problem itself.
Yeah, there's so much in there. And from an organizational context, I think, we still often, I think, see humans as cogs in the wheel, or like a pair of hands. And I think the great opportunity that we have is the kind of pair of hands work can more and more actually be outsourced, to the artificial intelligence. And I think the worry is outsourcing the decision making, the meaning making, the judgment, and sort of those components. I think if they go to artificial intelligence and we don't leverage the humans in our workplace to do that, I think we often get really incomplete stories and incomplete pictures, right? Because humans exist in a context, and the way we consume that context isn't just cognitive. It's not just about, I go to work and I know these things about, my workplace or my organization. It's more than that, right? It's, I have all of these relationships, and all of these relationships I have influence how I show up in different ways, in different contexts, etc. And there's a richness in all of that that I think really supports and enables decision making. And that can also be a difficult thing, where you see organizations that are mired in politics, as an example. And it can be a really enabling thing for contexts where we figure out how to harness that collective intelligence in a meaningful way, right? So there's so much in what you're saying in all of that. And I think, again, there's incredible potential for AI to make knowledge more accessible for us, and to give us more and more options, and help us think about new possibilities, because there's more data sets that we maybe don't have access to. But there's this question of like, and what does all this mean, and where do we go from here? That still sort of rests with us, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I'm just like, it's so much of what you said is I like really resonate, and like, it's so rich, because I feel choice is a big word that you use, like our ability to choose, our
Yeah.
ability to choose once, for example, we use AI to make a choice.
Yeah.
We use knowledge, and knowledge isn't the choice, but we use knowledge and our access to multiple data sets of knowledge, arenas of knowledge as they're emerging, which is the power of AI,
Yeah.
to then make a choice. If the knowledge is the choice, it gets kind of gnarly. And that's kind of a really interesting place. It's just with it, the power of AI and how we're orienting to it, and how we use it and how we work with it. And we can get into a theory side of this, and we can also get into a practice or practical side of this. All three of those things are really important. And I think that one thing that I heard you say is that, I really agree with that. There's so much of like AI is access to this knowledge, like a vast range of knowledge that I can get what I need.
Yeah.
And that's like a really interesting thing to make a
Yeah.
choice.
Yeah.
Uh, I can share just a quick moment in practice, or actually in a practical way.
Mm-hmm.
One of the clients that I work with, or the people that I
Mm-hmm.
serve right now, is a major. It's like a global tech organization,
Mm-hmm.
and that is at the forefront of a lot of the AI
Mm-hmm.
work that's happening. And one of the things that we're in conversation around currently is, and some of the leaders I'm working with are actively involved in, is can we create a coaching
Mm-hmm.
artificial intelligence? Can
Mm-hmm.
it be, can the artificial, and now this is happening not just in this tech organ, it's happening everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's the forefront, and there's lots of things happening in that space. And
Yeah.
what's really useful is its ability to use all these frameworks, models, literature, knowledge
Mm-hmm.
from multiple sources that
Mm-hmm.
are based on how culture and human interactions work. So it's using the models that are researched from the way human behavior works. It's
Mm-hmm.
formed a frame. The frame is now imported into like multiple frames, or put into the system, and then you and I might be in a disagreement.
Mm-hmm.
And so you take your screen. We're in separate
Mm-hmm.
rooms, and you're going to your screen. We have a meeting tomorrow. Your AI coach is telling you, you're inputting the challenge from your perspective. It's
Mm-hmm.
walking you through all those behaviors about what to say to me tomorrow when we meet. Now,
Mm-hmm.
I'm in my room saying, oh, goodness, I have a meeting with Usha tomorrow. So I'm going to type
Yeah.
into this, speak into this. It's going to give me insights based on these behaviors about what
Yeah.
I should or get curious about, the questions I might ask, or how I connect with Usha. The next day, you and I have a meeting, and in practice, what are we practicing, and what's practically happening between us, for each of us, and for the organization that we're both, say, working for.
Yeah.
Well, what's happening is we're both repeating. One thing that could happen is that
Yeah.
we're repeating back the thing that this same system guided us to have a conversation. So in that moment, I have certain expectations
Mm-hmm.
based on the way we understand human patterns to work that you're going to say,
Right.
and where I want to influence you to get what I need from me. You have the same in reverse. And are either of us, what are we practicing around our choice making,
Yeah.
or around our knowledge acquisition and use in the moment? And are we interacting with each other, or should we just have had our bots have the
Talk to each
conversation,
other.
and then we just like, show up and do whatever they told us to do, because it
Yeah.
kind of already would have known what the
Yeah.
results are going to be. So
Yeah.
in that chess game, where it's playing chess with itself,
Right.
using recognizable patterns, what's happening to our understanding of how culture works and our choice making?
Yeah.
And the moment we're using AI as the knowledge and as the final choice versus, well, now I see Usha. Knowing what I know, I use the knowledge base that AIs offer me, but
Mm-hmm.
now I see Usha, and knowing what I should say, that's in quotes right now, or what I
Mm-hmm.
ought to say, or how I might say, or what I might look for,
Mm-hmm.
I make a choice. And that might be even counter to what is happening, but it's based on all sorts of information in real time that I want to make, knowing what I know. And now I'm participating with building the culture that would serve what's changing in the world, rather than participating with the pattern making
Yeah.
that's going to influence the culture.
Yeah. it's so interesting. Like if I break that down for a second, one of the things that stands out to me in there is I'm talking to my bot about how I want to get my whatever the thing is that I want. You're talking to your bot about how you're going to try and get the thing that you want. And the bots coaches both in kind of coming into this conversation. And some of it could be really valuable coaching about be an active listener, ask open questions, try and understand the other person's perspective, etc. But ultimately it's almost serving like your self-interest and my self-interest. And, you know, and in a world where both of our interests can be cobbled together into a strategic solution that's win-win, we probably don't even need to talk to each other. The bots can just do that themselves and tell us, here's option 3 that gives you what you need and gives me what I need. And at a sort of practical level, that works fine. But the reality and the context is that maybe I'm trying to get a promotion and that's why I'm hanging hard to the thing that I want, and I have all kinds of emotions tied up in it. And actually, if I feel heard by you in our conversation, maybe that emotion eases up a little bit, and I'm more willing and open to listen and hear. So again, there's this sense of like, it's not always the content, but actually the context and the connection that moves things. And that's the human element that drives things, right? I think we've all been in those situations where even if everybody agrees to a particular path forward, if there's a powerful person in the room who's not in alignment, somehow things just don't move in that direction. Or vice versa. If there's someone who has a lot of passion for it, they'll find a way to rally and influence and persuade to move something forward. And there's something about actually like leveraging humans in that way to connect with each other, to influence each other, to support each other, and to create things by bringing our perspectives together that requires a degree of listening that isn't just listening to the content, but actually connecting as humans and listening to each other's like spoken and unspoken needs and all of these different dimensions, right? Like that's what stands out to me as you're speaking to that. And I've actually used AI as a coach, as an experiment, and it's so fascinating. It was very logically sound and it gave me lots of good advice, but in the end I made a different choice. I was deciding between two things and I made a different choice because ultimately it wasn't there was other logic that I couldn't quite articulate in a cognitive way that was at play, that I felt emotionally, but I couldn't quite translate into words. And I think we're at risk of minimizing how important all of these other dimensions are of how we operate and what we bring to the table. So it's interesting. I'm curious what you think about all of that.
Yeah, I just really respond with what you're saying and kind of that cycle, the way you described it, that kind of the scenario I set us up in, right? It's a scenario. There's so many options that are wonderfully
Yeah.
possible, wonderfully supportive of our growth. And there's also
Mm-hmm.
the scenario we share where you were saying, like, wait, one is telling me, my bot is telling me what supports
Mm-hmm.
benefits me, and yours is telling you what's benefiting you. Or if that's how we're approaching our bots, that's what it's
Mm-hmm.
there to do ultimately. Well, what's happening there is two things. First, the question I have is like, what does that do to evolution
Mm-hmm.
in this scenario? How
Yeah.
do you evolve? How do
Yeah.
I evolve? Is
Yeah.
this supporting us, our growth and our development in
Yeah.
becoming what we're becoming?
Yeah.
Um, or is it keeping us in a pattern of some sort?
Yeah.
Is it supporting our shared relationship in becoming what it needs to flourish?
Mm-hmm.
And is it supporting our shared organization that we work for? And it's
Mm-hmm.
probably slightly different response to each of those
Mm-hmm.
because the bot could tell us what's best for the organization.
Yeah.
And the bot could so there's all sorts of things in there. Like we can approach each one of those. But the question I have is, what does it do for evolution? and its
Yeah.
participation with evolution, and what is it, does it support it, does it not, in what ways, etc. And then the other thing I noticed in what you said is individuation.
Mm-hmm.
And when we were saying about wicked problems earlier, is in a
Yeah.
world that is increasing in its complexity, which means that we more and more need
Mm-hmm.
our interconnection to even understand the depth of the problems we're in, let alone certainly solve or
Mm-hmm.
address them. That if we're becoming more and more individuated, how do we get to that collective action or collective understanding
Mm-hmm.
in order to even get there? And is the way we're using AI in the context that we just set up enabling that, accelerating that, or decelerating that, actually? Maybe even inverting that.
Yeah.
Um, so it has the potential to serve us in our choice making and get
Mm-hmm.
more access to each other,
Mm-hmm.
to our ideas, to make choices that benefit humanity and all beings,
Mm-hmm.
and then feed that back into the AI,
Mm-hmm.
or inversely create something really kind of gnarly and dangerous,
Mm-hmm.
where I'm getting the thing I need using all the knowledge that's accessible to
Right.
further my
Right.
perspective, even if it's a great intention
Yeah.
in benefit of all of humanity, but my
Yeah.
perspective alone, because certainly it's better than yours, right? Oh, and we get into that place, and you're doing the same multiplied by that.
Yeah.
We're actually accelerating something that might not serve us.
Right. And on the evolution piece, I want to ground that in the organizational context because I know we're speaking about it in a much broader way, but I think that's the great opportunity of a VUCA context, of like an uncertain complex context, which is actually there's more possibilities than can be imagined by any one or two or three individuals. And, if we look at organizations that have kept up with evolution, as an example, Amazon started off as a bookstore. It's an online bookstore. And now it's transformed massively to be just this, retailer for all things, right? People can get everything from groceries to whatever they might want. They're going to the store. That's to me is like somebody testing and learning, and it's individuals in an organization saying, oh, well, what if we did this, or what if we did that, and what if we did that? Google starts as a search engine. Now there's this huge remit of things of products and services that they have within their remit, right? And some of that, I think, it's a product of evolution. It's a product of people in organizations coming together, trying things, innovating things, and those taking off in unexpected ways. And of course, for every experiment that really succeeds and transforms, there'll be many that don't. But there's something about that I think, of course AI will come up with amazing ideas, and we can use it as like a brainstormer and all of that, but it's what you're saying about, it's people coming together to move these things forward that actually drives evolution, whether in an organizational context or a broader human context. And I think it's important that we move away from thinking that evolution is simply a product of knowledge improving, because I don't think it's that. I think it's knowledge, it's context, it's connection, and there's just this like element of it that isn't always tangible or concrete, and it doesn't have to be. It's about leveraging that by creating the right spaces and the right conversations and the right experiments that I think I heard this other example of like McDonald's as an example can be fully automated in some time. Like you probably don't need a single human operating that entire machine. And somebody was saying, so what if the employees are actually there to welcome people, to make conversation, to connect with people, to create a different dining experience that isn't just about that isn't just this transactional, I go, I get my burger, I eat, I leave, right? And this is where I think there's like different possibilities that open up in what we can offer and do that is unique and that is about evolution and growing together and creating something that's magic in its own way.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. What a wonderful, that we're focused on a shared experience, a collective experience that benefits all of us,
Yeah,
that benefits choices we can make
yeah,
to benefit society at large, ultimately our environment, our planet, the world, our economies, all those things that like that thriving,
yeah,
flourishing,
yeah,
growth.
yeah,
Um, and if we can set up scenarios where the transactions
yeah,
uh, that need to happen, we can't be in a transactionalist world. That's part of the
yeah,
VUCA. I mean, it's a part of and ones that serve us to make more choices,
yeah,
but then they are not the answers. They're
yeah,
giving us directionality and perspectives that we can access in order to make choice.
yeah,
And the choice is there to benefit the whole.
yeah,
And the whole is then informing more of the AI.
yeah,
And the AI gives me more information with which to make choice. It gets, again, it's that little moment that the AI can then inversely start to
mhm,
inform how we are together.
yeah,
And if it informs how we are together,
right,
and then how we are together makes me make a choice
right,
that's then going to benefit me
yeah,
and it makes a choice on how I input
yeah,
information into the world.
yeah.
And then it starts to do something a little bit differently there.
Yeah, and I think social media is a good example of how we can get into habits and patterns and kind of these default settings in our partnership and interaction with these tools that isn't always conscious or choiceful or mindful. It can sort of drive us in perverse ways. So I really hear the piece around being intentional, um, around how we preserve that sense of choice and decision making within an organizational context and beyond. So, for a senior leader who might be listening to this and who's really thinking about, what do I do with this disruption? How do I make the most of the people in my organization? And, I want to embrace AI to, move my productivity and create more as an organization, drive growth, etc. What advice would you have for them to be thinking about some of this thoughtfully?
Such a great question. I think two things I would suggest as an approach to that
Yeah.
rich question. And one is that the answers to the really complex questions, ultimately,
Mm,
the answer, and I'm pointing here so those who are listening who can't see, I'm pointing, are this way.
mm,
They're inner answers.
yeah.
The answers are within me and they're within or between us.
Mhm,
They're not out there. There's no TED Talk book that's good. If there was, it wouldn't be at your table as a senior leader.
right.
It's so complex that we don't yet know the answer. And so we need to look inward and we need to look between us. That's one approach. And when we look another direction, I would suggest is we always say, so many methods, models, frameworks start with look at the user, speak to the
Mm,
people. Another way to say that is who are the people you serve? And I would look
mm,
holistically at that, including your own family,
mhm,
your local team, including yourself, including the people that you serve not just your clients, but the people you serve within your organization, then also your clients, and who are the people that those people serve,
Yeah.
and who are the people that those people serve. And if you keep looking at that, that's one direction, and say, what is a strategy we can come up with based on what we see in the world? Use AI for this too. But think about, who are the people I serve? Who are the people they serve? Et cetera, et cetera. Then say, where's the strategy? And use that strategy to inform choice that you make. And use the choice that you make. And that's where you have to look inward and say, hey, just because I can doesn't mean I should. Just because knowledge is there doesn't mean I have to do exactly it. I got to have, okay, this is what I know, and I'll make a choice. And the choice, I don't know. It's uncertain. It's like you said, there's things that we don't know. So, and we won't know until we make the choice. And then have your eyes, your ears, all your senses open so that you can notice those same people. Who are the people you serve, the people they serve, the missions and the people that they serve? What's happening? And then let's make a new strategy based on that. And that ongoing practice is a practice in a VUCA world that would help you participate with what's changing in a way that allows evolution and flourishing of all beings, including yourself. So that's just like an offer, and a direction in which that can work. And there's tons of models in which we can do that, but that's the ultimate kind of directionality I would go with in that space too. Yeah.
I love the wisdom behind that. And just to play devil's advocate for a second, what if as a leader I'm saying I would love that, but I live in a context where the people I serve are the shareholders, and bringing growth is the sort of number one thing in my remit. What would you say to that?
We're certainly in a world where that exists. And that, there's no one who's not, doesn't work for someone in the working world. Yeah, even the CEO, such with the CEOs that I work with. I mean, that's like the experience of like, they can cut me at any time. I just need to bring back the most value to this community. And value has a specific thing. And the question I would ask, right, is like the two questions that you can go with, is ask your board, in your value, like, I need to bring you value. I want to participate with you. This choice will do such and such. Is that the value, the consequence, and the risk? And I would also look, often we're in like, at most often is like 90 day, like, what's that report that I'm going to bring back, the shareholder value, that 90 day, like what is that going to be? I would look at, I'm going to just check in 90 years from now. What's the consequence to our organization, to the shareholders? Right? Like, forget my job, me, so on. But for the mission of, and the vision of this organization, for our value, 90 years from now, if we make this choice. And that's a participation with evolution that's a little bit different. And I would actually even argue consequentially different than the 90 day. And it's not either or. but actually both.
Yeah.
So it's that,
Absolutely.
you know, and do you need to be the one to do it? And maybe it's on you to let them know and to collectively choose on both scales.
Yeah, I think that's actually one of the big choices in front of us. And for every leader, I think a lot of us maybe make the assumption that this is what Sam Altman and, of OpenAI and all of these CEOs who are leading this charge around artificial intelligence, et cetera, like that it's somehow their choice. But actually, I think the importance of taking a longer term view is actually resting in every boardroom and in every, executive room. And I do really believe that it will, one, bring us more life affirming. It will bring us to more life affirming places on the one hand. And on the other, I really believe that when we participate with evolution in that way, in the long run, actually everyone benefits far more, even from a shareholder and a growth perspective, because you're participating with something that is, where the whole is greater than the sum of its parts, right? Where the sum total of all the people in your organization and what they bring and all the stakeholders you have, even beyond the organization, when you're participating with all of that intelligence and leveraging AI to kind of do what it does best, but really leveraging the people to bring together that kind of perspective and wisdom. I think there's so much more that's possible than we've been able to really imagine. And there's something about stepping into that I think is a real call of our time. Yeah.
Absolutely, that value of leadership, right? Like the
Yeah.
leader isn't the one, right?
Yeah.
I like that. That is, maybe I'll flip it around. The leader is the one who steps into the unknown.
Yeah.
The when we don't know is when we need the leader
Yeah.
foremost,
Yeah.
and the one who looks inner and
Yeah.
says, "Hey, everyone, we're going to make this choice."
Yeah.
Rather than manage a bunch of like or respond
Yeah.
um, to a certain change versus lead within a certain change that's happening. And leading it is leading all of us. And all of us is on a range.
Mm.
And short and long term are considerations. And be amiss to miss any part of that. It's not complete, it's not whole
Mm.
without doing that. And that's where the leader, we need them to make those choices that are not in the current pattern necessarily. They might be,
Yeah.
but they might not be in the current pattern because the current pattern may have got us to where we are.
Yeah. Aithan, thank you so much. This has been an incredibly rich conversation, and I'm so grateful to you for offering your wisdom.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much. And I just so appreciate being in conversation with you. Appreciate connecting with you. And thanks for doing this podcast all together. These questions, the kinds of questions you're asking, they're really rich, and I'm in them too. And I just,
Mm.
I'm learning. It's just wonderful to learn and to grow together with you. Thanks.
Thank you, Aithan. And for those of you following along, if you'd like to hear more wisdom, please subscribe, and there's going to be much more to come.